Okay, YouTube, I am back with Chef Jeff, who is one of the chefs from Eat Like a Girl, and he did all the omnivore recipes and a few extra. You did more than just meat.
Yeah, we did a lot.
You did the keto Basque cheesecake.
It's hard to get me to shut up when we talk about food.
I know, and then the keto caramel sauce.
Oh, the caramel sauce.
So
Boy, that was good.
You did some incredible recipes in there. But what I wanted to do on this video, because we talk about meat often on this channel, I want to talk about how do you cook meat. For me, one of the reasons I love eating meat, I am an omnivore, is that it's just got this vast amino acid profile. And it's interesting because in Eat Like a Girl, you'll see when those of you that purchase it, that there's one double-side page of what I call the Key 24. And the Key 24 are the 24 nutrients you need to make hormones. And it's actually for both men and women. 9 of those are amino acids. So when I go to look at putting a meal together, I'm like, I got to have some meat in there because they have such an incredible amino acid profile. But outside of that, I'm like, okay, this is chicken, this is steak, and this is fish, and how is it best to cook it? Mm-hmm. So I'd love to start with poultry.
Okay.
I'd love to talk about how do you prep it, how do you cook it. For me, when I'm at the market, I don't know if you all have this challenge. I'm like, should I buy it skinless, boneless? Mm-hmm. Should I not take it home and undo it myself? Mm-hmm. Am I cooking it without the skin? Should I cook it with the skin? These are the kind of questions I have.
Okay. Well, for starters, chicken breast, very lean, right? Mm-hmm. And you can get it with the skin on. Obviously, skin on, more fat.
Okay.
All that, but also really crispy skin is delicious.
Yeah, it is.
It's just, it largely is a question of what is the recipe we're trying to do. Like what is the diaspora it comes from?
Right.
And a lot of the world, it might be chicken thighs, or it might be, okay, we're going to dice up this chicken breast and make this recipe.
Yeah.
And so for me, obviously, I'm looking at the meat when I'm walking around the supermarket and saying, okay, do I recognize where the farm that this chicken or this poultry comes from? Is this, where is it? Because if we're worried about carbon footprint, that kind of thing, if this thing comes from halfway around the world, maybe I'm not so happy about it.
So wait, that's a really important point, because we actually try to go to farmers markets and right. I actually had a farmer at one of the farmers markets that pulled out pictures and showed me. He's like, here are my chickens.
This is the name of my chicken.
Yeah, right.
This is your dinner.
It got really personal really quick,
yeah.
but I was like, this farmer is really passionate about this.
That.
So
I love farmers.
So if I'm at the market and I open up the package, will it tell me where it's from?
Probably not.
Oh.
That's why I love that you said you go to farmers markets and you talk to the farmer, because most of the time that is the best, most honest, and often the most delicious meat that you're going to find.
Exactly.
That may have only recently been harvested, as opposed to you go to the supermarket, you don't know if that's been frozen, brought back, where it comes from, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
100% support the farmer's market. Go see your farmer. I love that you said that.
Yeah. Okay. And then when I purchase it, should I to me, the skin has fat in it. Yep. And so then the fat is going to go down. It's got collagen in it, which for women going through menopause, that's like a big thing, is like keeping our collagen up. Okay. So would you, my general thing is buy it with the skin on.
If it's really no big deal, especially chicken breast, if you get home, you're like, oops, maybe I didn't. It comes right off.
Right.
It's no big deal.
Okay.
So I would say you have more options if you think you're going to need it.
Yeah.
Yeah, buy it with it on. The butcher, the guy behind the counter, or if you're at a supermarket, they can always take it off for you.
Right.
They're pretty helpful like that. But I say eat the skin, eat the fat.
Yeah.
It's really good.
It's really good. Okay, and then what about the different cuts? So thighs are my new excitement. And you actually, don't you have a recipe? I feel like we had, it's one of the stews. Yeah, go ahead. You know it better than me.
Was the cacciatore?
Yes.
Chicken cacciatore. So I like to do that one with the bones, because we talk about bone broth often and the benefits of the bones, and you're going to simmer that chicken cacciatore for a while. It won't be as long as, say, we make a bone like a broth,
right? But
you are getting the benefits of those dissolved things that are within the bones and all those kind of nutrients that go and enrich the sauce.
Okay.
I love cooking whole chicken on the bone in braises and that sort of thing for that reason.
But when you eat it, then you got to kind of pull it off, or it just.
If you braise it long enough, you take your fork and it comes right off. There you go.
I never even thought about that. That now you're getting all the collagen and all the nutrients. But so when we talk about bone broth, we'll go into this. But bones have glycine in it.
Okay.
and glycine helps to repair the gut lining. So anytime I can put any kind of bone,
Okay.
anything in, I'd like to do that. So
Chicken catch story.
Yeah, the
It's in
chicken
the
catch
book.
and the chicken catch story in the book is really good. It was really good. So okay, so that's poultry. My other question on poultry is turkey. When do you
I love
we
turkey.
all gravitate to chicken,
Yeah.
but why would you as a chef decide to make something with turkey?
Well, it's interesting in this country. When I say turkey, you say
Thanksgiving, yeah.
So, we don't always, except for ground turkey, we often, we'll use because it's a lean ground meat that, especially if again the provenance of where it came from and
Right.
or it's being ground for you, or you go to the supermarket, ground turkey is generally less concerning than ground beef. Ground beef,
Right.
most of the time you don't know how many cows are in that packet
No.
of ground beef, and when it was ground. But ground turkey first of all, it's healthier, it's leaner. So we eat that a lot in this country, and everything from turkey chili to you name it. I know in Europe, I've seen turkey a lot more. Typically,
interesting.
something as simple as the breast that'll get roasted off just like Thanksgiving, maybe not the same flavorings, but then gets a slightly, typically a sauce like with cranberries or other kind of berries or
Right.
something that's a little bit of a fruit component.
Okay.
You see it often
that
in
does
Germany and kind of Eastern Europe.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's a delicious meat.
Yeah.
It's really good.
You know what I used to do as a kid? I would go to the Renaissance Fair. Do you remember the
the
Renaissance?
turkey legs.
And the turkey leg,
They're
and I was
the
like
best.
eating like a big turkey leg,
They're
and
the
it
best.
felt so medieval.
I still do that.
Yeah.
I love that
Okay.
turkey.
So that's okay to do.
Yeah. Well, you're the doc.
Yeah, I mean it's okay health-wise, but it feels disrespectful to a recipe when you're just like grabbing it.
I eat turkey legs. They're delicious. I love that. The Renaissance Fair, they do something magical to those.
Yeah.
Disneyland, they have a great one.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
And then would you spice the turkey leg?
Yeah, so often with turkey legs, I've actually made this for a couple events. We did the Renaissance Fair style turkey
Yeah.
legs. What I'll do is I'll actually brine them, and we'll
Okay.
use some salt and some flavorings so it'll have a lot of spice in the brine.
Okay.
And because you're going to smoke them, often poultry that you're going to smoke, you want to put it through a brining process to kind of help it hold onto the juice so
Right.
it doesn't get really dry.
Right. Oh my gosh, amazing. Okay, and we've brined our Thanksgiving turkey.
Yeah.
Okay, grass meat, and now this one is grass fed.
Clearly glass fed.
Oh, you can? How can you tell?
Well, you see, there's very little fat, what we
Okay.
call intermuscular fat. There's not little like flecks. When you have the corn-fed, the Nebraska, those really kind of beautiful steaks of that you've seen. You see them today still, but even the ones that we traditionally see in our head, it has all that marbling. And
Yes.
that comes from the feeding and the fattening of it. Grass-fed, there's not a lot of fat in grass.
Yeah.
So you see it's very, very, very rich, the redness and the myoglobins. It's a really intense kind of flavor in that regard, and there's not a lot of fat in between. So that's how you can tell.
Yeah, and I don't know if what your opinion is on grass fed, but I'm like yes, because it has so many omega-3s in it that it makes sense.
Absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, it really depends on what the usage is. Like a really beautiful dry aged, I've really come to really like grass fed corn finished, where what they'll actually do is it'll be very much this style of animal where it's been eating grass its whole life, and then they'll finish it with corn to get that kind of the flavor and the fat that we associate.
Okay.
Those are big favorites of mine because it's not eating, I know it's eating naturally
Right.
its whole life, and at the end we're feeding it corn to kind of get the calories up.
Got it.
Nothing wrong, in my opinion, nothing wrong with that, and it
Okay.
improves the flavor. Grass-fed has a more mild flavor, and it has that sort of earthy.
Yeah, it has like a
quality, and
grassy
it's-
flavor
And
that yeah.
but for certain usages, that's exactly what you want.
Right. Okay, now let's talk about the cuts because, in my family, the boys in my family are the meat makers, and they cook it all up, and I just eat whatever they give me. But then we're out to a restaurant. I always have to turn to my husband and go, what kind of meat do I like again?
Yeah.
And so each cut of meat has a different flavor profile.
Largely, yes. Obviously, it also is more textural than flavor.
Okay.
But filet mignon, tenderloin. Why they call it tenderloin? Because it's tender. It's kind of in the middle of the cow. It doesn't get a lot of use.
Okay.
And it's that round steak that is typically one of the more expensive ones on the menu.
Right.
But that's one of the ones that you're going to see often a lot. Filet mignon or tenderloin. Me and a lot of guys, we go for the cuts that have a big bone on them. So whether that's the
It's
tomahawk
a
steak,
tomahawk.
you got the big bone, and
Yeah.
okay. I'm partial, having cooked in Spain, there's a cut called the chuletón. Chuletón is just another name for the porterhouse.
Okay.
So it has a sort of which porterhouse and T-bone are the same thing.
Right.
One's on one end of what's called the short loin, or the where all the bones are.
Right.
And one's on the other end where there's less bone. So the T-bones are kind of towards that end.
Okay.
And it's just, you get that little T, and then going that way towards what would be the prime rib and kind of the front end, that's where the big porterhouse, 1 kilogram,
Right.
2, and it's one piece is the New York and the other piece is the filet.
Okay.
And it's this beautiful, beautiful cut.
And so when I
Excuse me,
look,
ribeye.
so when I look at it and I see the extra fat in there, my
Mm.
brain has sort of gone. This isn't a good example, but my brain has gone. Oh, that when it's cooked with that extra fat, it's going to have a more richer flavor.
It will, absolutely. It absolutely will.
And if I see it like the fillet, where
Mm-hmm.
it's just completely like red like that, it just has. It's more. We're now in the texture. Becomes
Correct.
more of
It's-
the highlight.
We talk about lean protein, lean meats, lean
Right.
red meat.
Okay.
This is lean red meat. And
Right.
likewise, your filet mignon or some of these other cuts, it's definitely grass-fed steak is going
Right.
to be following the category of lean red meat, which a lot of folks prefer, as opposed to the fattier cuts, which will be your ribeyes and that sort of thing.
Got it. And when you were putting like a menu together at your restaurant, how did you decide? Like, do people have a favorite? How did you decide what cuts to make people?
It's my restaurant. It's my menu. Oftentimes, it's things that I
Ah,
like and that I
okay.
want to share with people. But look, a restaurant's only good if folks are going to come and sit down and enjoy.
Right, yeah.
So it's obviously, we know, if I'm opening a steakhouse, I know the steaks that are likely going to sell are the ones that folks know the most: the filet mignons, the ribeyes, the New
Yeah.
York steaks.
Yeah.
And so those are the things that you're going to see on a typical steakhouse menu. So the good news is it's all recognizable.
Right. Okay. Okay. Awesome. Okay. My baby's coming to you. Eat like a girl. You want to know the foods that will support hormones? Guess what? I have them for you already. It's a free giveaway. Just click the link above and I'll send you a list of all the foods that support amazing hormonal health. Okay. Now, fish. So
Yes.
fish, I will tell you, fish from a health perspective has been a bit of a quagmire for me, because what I mean by that is it's like I don't really know what I want to do with fish because it's in an ocean that's toxic. And so now we're finding a lot of heavy metals,
Sure.
specifically
More and more.
in fish. So I have done a lot of research on like what are the fish with the least amount of heavy metals in it, and I've come to this conclusion that I'm always going to be in the right lane of health if I go with wild salmon, or even like a cod. Like cod has so much omega-3 in it.
Sure.
So talk a little bit about the different fish and which you like to cook with.
Okay.
And how we would pick a good fish in a store.
So what I understand in terms of the fish that are likely have the most heavy metals are your kind of the top of the food chain fish.
Yes. Yeah.
So those are your swordfish, your marlin, obviously tuna. These are nobody's eating those, so they're
Yeah.
eating everybody underneath them, and those are the ones that are picking up a lot of that. So we have to be careful when we eat those. And where you're right, salmon, not so much, because you have your Atlantic salmon, where that's the wild, and that's generally considered okay to eat.
Right.
There's a great list called the Monterey
Yeah.
Watch List, and they do a great job of
Agreed.
not only in terms of that, but endangered and that sort of
Yeah.
thing. That a lot of chefs who are trying to be responsible, we follow that and say, okay, cod is always a relatively safe one.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so in terms of what to do with those things, I mean, you'll see in the book one of my absolute go-to standby favorite salmon recipes that I think we're going to prepare at
Yeah,
some
we're
point.
going to do it today.
By request of just about everybody.
Yes.
Is the salmon dish, where it's just, when I cook at home, I don't like to clean. I ask my mom. I'm not a cleaner. I'm a cooker. So when I do it, it's a one pop drop. You make something, you put it on, you put it in the broiler, you let it cook, and it's done.
Yeah. Yeah, and the salmon recipe in the book,
Yeah.
so my goal with the book, because you and Chef Leslie made all the recipes, was to cook them all just for enjoyment. And it's been kind of fun because everybody who comes over for dinner to my house, I'm like, I'm going to cook you something from my new book. I have cooked the salmon recipe 4 times. It is so good.
It's good and it's easy.
It's
And
so
it's like,
easy.
bang it out. Okay, here's dinner.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, then my other quandary that I've got with fish is, do you eat the skin?
Yes.
Okay.
Some fish, most fish, yes. And I'll eat it if it's done right. And the way it's done right is if it's nice and crispy.
Right.
Because it's, again, it's similar to the chicken when you have the skin and there's a layer of fat under there. That's where, some of the fat is stored. With salmon, there's a lot of fat also, whether it's in the belly or intermuscularly. But I love salmon skin when it's cooked right.
Okay. Then the one thing we don't have here that we should bring up, because it's also an incredible recipe in the book, is pork. And it's a miso pork that you used, which is really cool because miso is soy, and we're trying and eat like a girl to help support estrogen. My biggest challenge I've had with the pig, and I'm curious if this sits with your chef brain, is that I've heard the pig doesn't sweat. And so all of those toxins in pigs stay in their body. So when you're eating, a general principle of nutrition is you are eating whatever the animal ate.
So I wrote a book about charcuterie, and I learned in Spain, and very much the belief when it comes to making charcuterie and that sort of thing is, whatever, if your pig, if it didn't eat like a good diet, and if it didn't live a good life, then it's not going to be good to consume.
Right.
And that's why in Spain we learned how what the pig eats is very, when it comes to Iberico pigs, they feed them acorns, and you get this incredible thing with the monounsaturated fats that come out of the acorn that go directly into the animal. Where if you have a really beautiful leg of Iberico ham, it's going to sweat at room temperature from the monounsaturated fat, because at room temperature olive oil is liquid.
Right.
It's the same. They call them walking olive oil trees.
Wow.
So to your point, that is, I don't know about the toxins and whether they're sweated out or not, or if they come out another way.
Yeah.
But definitely how your animal lived and how it ate will impact how it tastes and what happens with you.
Is there a way for us to know, we've got people all over the world who watch these videos. Again, if we go into the store, there's no way for you to know other than if they say it's grass-fed. But with the other, with pork, you wouldn't know.
You really, if you have a good butcher, and I recommend definitely supporting your local butcher or farmer if you go to the farmer's market. And that's the best thing, is go to a farmer's market and say, hey, what breed of pig are you using? How was it raised? What was it fed?
Right.
And they'll normally share all that. Farmers love talking about how they treat their animals.
Yeah, they do.
I love it. And the same thing with the butcher at better markets. They might have that information, say, hey, we work exclusively with this farm, and here's their practices. If you're really concerned and that's something that you want to hone in on, that's the way you do it.
Yeah. We have a farmer's market. They do an avocado-fed pork. That is so good. And I love the avocado is like the most perfect food on the planet.
I love avocados.
And I'm like, well, that makes sense.
Yep.
Now we've put some really cool nutrients into the pork.
Yep,
So
absolutely.
Yeah. But what I'm hoping you all will get from this conversation is that we tend to have this approach to food, especially with meats, like just go in, buy the meat, leave. But there's so much to think about. And is it wild? Is it organic? What has it been fed? Who's the farmer? I think when you start to dial that down, all of a sudden, not only do you increase the taste profile, but now you're really seeing food as medicine.
And you feel it, really.
Yeah.
You feel like when you eat a better quality steak or salmon or pork, you feel it.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, I guess actually I do need to bring this up. Organ meat.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, and how do you blend it in?
I love chicken livers in all forms.
Yeah.
And whether it's seared off, there's a couple of really fun recipes where you sear them off, give them a splash of sherry. It's a very Spanish thing.
Yeah.
Higados al Jerez is the name. I also love making, whether blending it up and making like a pate.
Yeah.
Pretty much, livers and hearts and kidneys. I've worked with all of them. Because in Spain, the understanding is if you're going to take an animal and utilize it, you use all of it.
Yeah.
And so there's a whole a litany of recipes that I love that are specifically for that purpose.
Yeah. So there's a principle in actually homeopathic medicine, which is like heals like. And so I've been was trying to find ways to use organ meat, and I found little chicken hearts. And I just found a recipe online. This is a couple of years ago, and I just made it, and it turned out our son loved it.
Yeah, they're good.
He was like, this is amazing. All I kept thinking is all those nutrients that we needed for our heart is in this little heart.
At the end of the day, a heart's a muscle.
Right.
It's like this is a muscle,
Yeah.
and that's a muscle.
Yeah.
And it's beef heart is cooked like a steak, delicious.
Interesting. I never had beef
Yeah,
heart.
yep.
Interesting.
It's a muscle.
Yeah.
It's a steak.
Yeah, fascinating. Okay, so there you go. That's the info. Hopefully that will get you going and choosing the right meat. And those of you who have pre-ordered Eat Like a Girl, let me know in the comments. And depending on when you're watching this video, if you have tried some of Chef Jeff's recipes in here, let us know which one is your favorite.
If you like them, if not.
If you don't like them, tag Chef Jeff and let him know.
Thanks.
But I feel like you're going to love it. So appreciate you. Thank you. Guess what? In my next video, I'm going to show you the amazing benefits of honey. So make sure you stick through and watch that video. What is interesting is honey, even though it's a sweetener, there's some really cool qualities to it that you want to know about and make you change your mind if you've kept it out of your diet.